Barbados is becoming a top location for foreign film producers. The island records an increase in visitor arrivals. And in sports, the Barbados Pride are looking for their first victory as they take on the Scorpions at the 3Ws Oval.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening too. I'm Lisa Lord with the CBC Evening News. And our top story, a record number of regional and international films have been shot on location in Barbados over the past year. Our Sharika Griffith reports that this was revealed by Film Commissioner Annette Nias during the launch of the Barbados Independent Film Festival.
Barbados continues to be a top pick for foreign film producers. Film Commissioner Annette Nias says this has been the case for 2018 in particular. Among the benefits, the development of the local film industry, as well as its emergence as a major engine of economic growth.
Over the past year, a record number of film shoots from the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, the UK, and the USA have visited our shores, have taken advantage of our services, and several Barbadian film production companies contribute to and benefit from such activity on an ongoing basis.
Ms. Nias was speaking during the launch of the third edition of the Barbados Independent Film Festival. Co-director Jennifer Smith-Bent says the 2019 festival will showcase the best of Barbadian hospitality, cuisine, and talent.
We are delighted to announce that we will have our second premiere of the collaboration grant film, where we take two filmmakers from the previous year's festival, a Barbadian filmmaker and an international one. We give them a very short period of time and a very slim budget, and we ask them to produce a film about a cultural aspect of Barbados. I am delighted to say this year's film is called Liquid Gold, The Story of Rum in Barbados, and it's being produced and directed by Ramel Hall from Barbados and Dan Mervish from the United States.
The majority of events will take place at the recently renovated Walled Garden Theatre of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. Deputy Director Kevin Farmer says among the major changes is a cover to allow for outdoor seating.
We have in fact expanded the seating space and also terraced it so that the rake would allow those persons to actually see what's being shown. At this time we believe that we can seat just about 400 people. Which under cover in Barbados outside is amazing. And I think for us, and the reason why it was created was to aid in the development not just of the performance arts, but of film in Barbados.
The 2019 festival comes off January 11th to 20th, an extension of 4 days to allow patrons to attend more events. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Well, overall, long-stay visitor arrivals are up so far this year. This news from the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Senator Rudy Grant. He was speaking at the association's fourth quarterly general meeting today at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. But there has been a slight dip in cruise passengers.
Between the period January to October, there's been a 2.7% increase in overall long-stay visitor arrivals. For that period as well, there's been a decline of 3.4% in cruise passengers. And you can see that once again, the United States continues to be performing well with an improvement of 8.7% when compared to the same period last year. Canada is 2.9%. The United Kingdom is somewhat flat, less than 1% at 0.8%.
And Chairman of the Association, Stephen Austin, says that going forward, there must be a transformation in the way visitors are welcomed to our ports.
It is time that we have a team of entertainers to work at the airport and seaport to welcome our visitors with shows that will highlight our Barbadian heritage. Dancers, steel pan, etc. They would rotate from the airport to the seaports with changes in choreography and will provide a valuable picture of our Bajan passion. Use Trevor's Way as a showcase center and manage it with an assortment of kiosks and varying offerings. Pelican can be used as well. Everybody looks at Pelican and they can never get anything working there. We need to put a private entrepreneur in charge of Pelican and really make it work.
Well, one government minister wants to see the development potential of the north of the island explored. Minister of Information, Broadcasting and Public Affairs, Senator Lucille Moe, made the comment as she led off debate on a resolution to vest Crown lands at Clough St. Lucie to the National Housing Corporation. Should the resolution be passed, she says it would have a positive impact on the housing stock. And Senator Moe notes it would also allow for St. Lucie to keep pace with the rest of the island in its development.
Certainly the land available down there would be extremely suitable in one, providing housing to individuals so that they would have their own homes, but also two, to help to bring further activity, further development, and further expansion of Barbados's endeavors to ensure that the whole island continues to develop at the same rate. And certainly we would hope that this parcel of land, once vested in National Housing Corporation, will do such.
Deputy President of the Senate, Rudolph Greenidge, has urged government to take decisive action to deal with the large number of derelict houses across the island. Senator Greenidge says that one derelict house can have a negative impact on an entire neighborhood. He says that they are unsightly and can act as havens for criminals and disease-carrying vectors.
It is my firm belief that a committee should be set up to establish and to facilitate the process. And I mean officials from places such as the Land Tax Department, from the Land Registry, from the Court Registry, from the Ministry of Housing, and of course some knowledgeable individuals as well to sit on the committee. But something has to be done about it. Because, sir, all government gains from these derelict buildings is a bad image.
Opposition Senator Caswell Franklin is calling on the government to take action against those who committed wrongdoings in the last administration, especially in the area of housing. He says that those who were responsible for constructing many of the tiny houses which Barbadians are now forced to live in should be sentenced to live in those houses.
They live in these fantastic houses and put people that they think they care about, that they are vowed to represent, they swear to represent, they come in here and hold the Bible to represent, and then turn around and do this to them. You know, it isn't fair. We got too much of that going on in this country, and we need cleaning up. I hear a lot. Yesterday I was listening to the news and stuff, and I heard a lot of people in the other place talk about people getting locked up and all kind of stuff. Well, they want locking up, but we're doing housing too.
Barbados has sent a strong message to the World Trade Organization, urging it to set up its appellate arm. It comes from Barbados Ambassador and Permanent Representative to the United Nations and other international organizations at Geneva, Chad Blackman. Ambassador Blackman was addressing the WTO's General Council meeting. He told the body Barbados continues to believe in the organization's rules-based trading system, but it remains concerned about the impasse in the selection process for appellate body members. And that body, he says, plays an important role in the dispute settlement mechanism that sets the WTO apart. The ambassador says that Barbados also wants to be included in the talks aimed at reforming some elements that relate to the body, and called for those discussions to be open, inclusive and transparent and reflect the interest of all members. Well, city vendors have been encouraged to use technology to promote their goods and services. Commerce, Small Business and Entrepreneurship Minister Dwight Sutherland says this will be key since they are included in government's plan to transform Bridgetown into a smart city.
We are speaking about creating a smart Bridgetown. So I asked myself the question, what would a smart Bridgetown look like without vendors? So we need the vendors to utilize technology to provide people with their options and to create value-added products. Vending now has reached a stage whereby it has to be creative, it has to be more innovative, and it has to fit with the country's development in terms of the country's infrastructure, where we are going.
Mr. Sutherland was speaking to the media following a tour of Swan Street this morning. During that tour, he also broke his silence on the issue of vending at schools. He says that there is a role for both vendors and canteen operators on school premises, but he stresses that the vendors must supply healthier meals.
I don't think that one canteen can serve all of the students at a school. And I heard Barven in the background saying it's impossible. It's true. I went to large school and I bought a number of my ham cutters and cheese cutters and drinks from the vendors, because some days I went to the canteen, and these are real life examples. And if I wanted to play cricket, I was a cricketer, still is, I could not stand up in a canteen line for half an hour. I had to maximize my recreational time. And in order to maximize my recreational time, I had to go to those vendors on the periphery of the school.
Barbados has been sharing its climate change experiences with the rest of the world. The island is represented at the ongoing 24th Conference of the Parties, COP24, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Poland. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Dr. Jerome Walcott, has highlighted how Tropical Storm Kirk affected the island. He told the summit it brought almost 13 hours of rainfall and flooding to the island. Dr. Walcott says that government and Barbadians are concerned about the projections in a special report on global warming, suggesting the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius is likely to be reached between 2030 and 2052.
The report makes it absolutely clear that the Earth cannot afford to warm more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, and Barbados accepts this. Particularly worrisome for small island development states is the finding that 70 to 90% of tropical coral reefs will be lost at 1.5 degrees Celsius. This will have dire consequences for many of the tourism-based economies of the small island development states, as they are heavily reliant on the resources derived from their marine environment, especially when it is appreciated that the reefs protect our beaches.
And Senator Walcott says that the outcome of COP24 must include a set of ambitious decisions to realize the full and effective use of the Paris Agreement. Well, Miss World Barbados 2018 Ashley Lashley has returned to the island, not with a crown, but bursting with pride at her outstanding performance. And Ashley was speaking to CBC News at the Grantley Adams International Airport minutes after she returned from China. Describing it as an amazing opportunity, Ashley says meeting the 118 delegates and showcasing Barbados to the world were the highlights. She says even before leaving Barbados, she had to overcome several challenges, but that only made the experience even more meaningful.
While I was over in Sanya, China at the Miss World Show, I was able to place in the top 30 of top model, the top 22 of Beauty for Purpose, which is a very important project that I'm very passionate about, which speaks upon non-communicable diseases with special emphasis on our amputees in Barbados. Also, while I was over there, I was able to become a judge's pick and placed in the final top 30 at the Miss World Show.
And going forward, Ashley is hoping to bring at least 20 delegates to experience Barbados firsthand, but it won't be all play for those delegates because Ashley wants to host a second international conference on chronic non-communicable diseases in which she would like them to take part.
What I found is that with the delegates from within the Caribbean who participated in the Miss World Show, many of them have very similar projects to mine, which speak on the importance that and the impact that non-communicable diseases are having on their lives. So now that I have returned back home, I'm also hoping to become an ambassador for my country and also continue to represent Barbados on the international stage and become one of Barbados' greatest gems.
CARICOM is poised to create a new and liberating dimension in the quality and character of life for the masses of Caribbean people. And this is the analysis of Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comachong, as he gave a report on the 18th special meeting of heads of CARICOM governments held in Trinidad and Tobago last week. He says a suite of new initiatives are being rolled out for the 18 million CARICOM citizens. Key among them is the agreement that the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas will be amended to provide for for the Caribbean Congress of Labor and a new representative body of the Caribbean private sector as associate institutions of CARICOM.
The Caribbean private sector and the Caribbean labor movement are going to be fully integrated into virtually all of the planning and decision-making structures of the Caribbean community.
And Ambassador Comachong says a new principle has been adopted where an absence of consensus will not always halt progress.
If we cannot get unanimous decisions, no longer are we going to hold back progress waiting for unanimity. If there is a proposal on the table where you are proposing to do something that does not conflict with the fundamental principles of the Treaty of Chaguaramas, we are not going to wait for unanimity. Yes, we will try for unanimity, but if it is proving difficult to get, we will go forward with a coalition of the willing. Let those who are willing move forward if it is something good for the community.
A new CARICOM arm has set up operations in Barbados with a focus of driving the renewable energy agenda here and across the region. CCRE, the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, is now housed on the ground floor of the Ministry of Energy and on Country Road. Its first executive director, Dr. Gary Jackson, outlined the priorities for the center on CBC TV 8's Morning Barbados.
We want to create a knowledge hub that it's not just data, it's data that can be analyzed, it's information that becomes knowledge for you to make the necessary decisions in your energy space. So that's one. The second one is optimize. So a lot of countries have started programs, but what we find, some of the weakness that they have said is that project preparation is one of the things, de-risking projects in terms of doing the development work. So we want to help them with that. So we'll help countries to navigate those processes. Right. You know, especially when they're going into negotiating a power purchase agreement, we'll help them to navigate that as well.